Hello, my name is Ben,
And my name's Josh.
and welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video. The game weeks are coming thick and fast in December. The second one already upon us. Let's get straight into our teams going into this game week.
So I finished on game week 15 with 40 points. Just a quick run through of the team. The main players to sort of make a note of was Sanchez in goal. Obviously, got that penalty save and 3 bonus points. Really lucky there. 11-pointer. Awesome stuff from him. Jared Bowen, obviously, we got the goal against Spurs. We've got Mbuemo with that penalty. And obviously, he got taken off early. So he is now going to be missing for a couple of weeks for Brentford. And yeah, other than that, it was literally full blanks all around. All my defenders got 1-pointers. Obviously, Mitchell's got injured as well, which is not ideal. So a couple of sort of red flags to attend to going into game week 16. So taking a look at my team for game week 16, I have made both of my free transfers already on Friday night, going into Saturday morning, which when this video will be live. So obviously Sanchez remains in goal, Everton away. Obviously I've got a double Chelsea defence there, which is not necessarily ideal, but it's probably one of the better teams to sort of choose for this week. So a lot of the best defences are facing tougher opposition, or there's sort of stipulations around it, sort of like with Manchester City, who blank in game week 18. So I've got Sanchez and Colwill, Everton away. I don't think it's a terrible fixture, but I could easily see Everton scoring. Chelsea have not been defensively great in terms of keeping clean sheets so far this season. The defensive data hasn't been too bad, though. So I'm just hoping in this nice green run of fixtures that they can keep a few clean sheets throughout that. Obviously, Saliba with Villa away. I'm, again, not expecting a clean sheet from him. He's been quite disappointing in the last 2 weeks with 2 1-pointers. Obviously, he got a yellow card in the first game and then conceded 3 to Luton, which I don't think any Arsenal defender manager was expecting. And then, obviously, player of the month, Harry Maguire, Bournemouth at home. Got an assist last week that I had on my bench. I'm hoping United can sort of keep up that good home defensive form in the Premier League and sort of keep a clean sheet for Bournemouth. So what's your thoughts on that defence, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, with like defences this season, there's not been too many at all. So I wouldn't be confident on 4 out of 4 clean sheets there. I think you probably get 1 or 2. Like it's crazy how difficult it's been to get clean sheets this year. But yeah, I think the defense is as solid as it can be in terms of FPL defenses, and sort of limit the number of defenders that you have in your team, the better, and sort of just pump all the money going forwards, which you have done there. Obviously, the only sort of exception is Saliba, who has actually been keeping some clean sheets of late. So yeah, no issues with that at all. Obviously, double up's a little bit of a risk, but it's a much higher reward if they do keep the clean sheet.
Yeah, 100%. And then moving on into the midfield. So obviously Jared Bowen remains. I was debating taking him out last week, kept the faith, and gladly he repaid me with that goal at Tottenham. Fulham away this week. I think Fulham are a difficult side to play, but I think there'll be goals for both sides in that game. I brought in Cole Palmer for Mbuemo this week. He's a player that sort of been on my shopping list for a few weeks now, and I was yet to purchase, but I got him before his Thursday night price rise. From that, sort of as soon as Mbuemo I knew he was out for a significant amount of time, I sort of took him out straight away to avoid those sort of price changes. Son, obviously, he's a bit touch and go at the moment. Came off a little bit early against West Ham, and then was seen like sort of holding his back. He did do post-match press conferences, and he said he should be fine. So hopefully he does start at home to Newcastle this weekend. Gibbs White, not been a great signing so far. 2 games. He was benched last game against Fulham when they lost 5-0. So hopefully that little bit of a rest should make him a little bit better against his former club, Wolves. And then Salah as well on the vice-captaincy. Crystal Palace away. Palace are without a lot of key players again. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Liverpool do. Obviously, everyone thought Liverpool would run away against Sheffield United. They sort of struggled a little bit against that low block, which we've seen quite a few times so far this season. They struggled against Luton, struggled against Sheffield United. So it'll be interesting to see what Roy Hodgson does and how he sets his Palace side up. What's your thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah, decent night. Obviously, Jared Bowen's like, it's been quite a lot of managers before the game last night wanting to sell him. Now he's a lot more of an essential keeper. I think he's been a decent asset all the way along. Obviously playing up top. I think obviously Kudus maybe providing a little bit better value, sort of going forwards in the position that he's also playing up top with Bowen. But yeah, no reason not to sort of bring him in. A lot of FPL managers will be targeting him, and some may not be able to afford him with the moves that they make. Obviously, Cole Palmer, that he's overperforming his data, to say the least, but he is on penalties and he is sort of in form as well. So he's going to be confident as well. So I think that is a decent move for you to make as well. And yeah, Gibbs White's probably the only sort of fire that I can see. I don't think Son's too much of an issue there, even if he doesn't play against Newcastle. You know, he's got a couple of decent fixtures coming up as well. So yeah, Gibbs White's the only real sort of fire that I can see in the team so far.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on to the strike force, we've got Solanke away at Manchester United, and then Haaland on the captaincy away at Luton. The City have been struggling recently, 3 draws and a loss. So I'm hoping that they can sort of turn it around against Luton there. They've got Rodri back, which is going to be a huge plus for them. And then Solanke as well. I feel a little bit, I don't know, disappointed a little bit with him just because he's only got the 1 goal in I think the 3 appearances that I've owned him for, and Bournemouth has scored quite a few goals in that time. He came off a little bit early in the last fixture against Palace, and then Kiefer Moore, who came on for him, got a goal, which is a little bit annoying. But I think overall for the next maybe 3 game weeks, he's still a solid option. I could see Bournemouth scoring against United easily as well, so hopefully he's in the mix of it. What's your thoughts on the attacking too, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, Solanke almost seemed talismanic when you brought him in, but he's sort of not really doing that at the moment. And Bournemouth, and that's mainly because Bournemouth are clicking so much more. When Bournemouth are playing badly, Solanke's always there to score goals. Like he's gonna do it when they're playing badly, but they're clicking and they're flowing, and goals are coming from everywhere now, and they're coming from a lot deeper as well from the midfield runners. So, yeah, that's always going to happen. I think his best chance is against the tougher teams away from home anyway for returns. If you're looking at how Bournemouth are playing right now. So yeah, I can see that as well. And Haaland on the captaincy, I think is a very good shout. Despite sort of Arsenal struggling against them last week, they scored 2 goals, which were a chip to the back post, which is Haaland's bread and butter. So I can imagine him to pick up a couple of goals in that game at least. And again, it seems like to me that it's a pretty clear-cut captaincy again for this game week.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And then looking towards the bench then, so we've got Areola, who obviously missed the game against Tottenham. A lot of managers were surprised by that. He had like a wrist injury. It was unclear whether he'll be back for game week 16 or not. So he'd be on my bench anyway, because I just think Fulham at the moment, especially at home, they are free scoring, and West Ham defensively are quite poor at the moment. Archer first on the bench. I don't hate the Brentford at home fixture for Sheffield United. Chris Wilder's in charge. New manager bounce. Brentford missing Mbuemo and a couple of other players as well. Fabian Schär is going to be on my second on my bench, sort of that first defensive cover. I think a lot of managers will be playing the Newcastle defence, obviously, against Tottenham. But I feel like Tottenham will score. And then Fabian Schär, although it offers a little bit of attacking threat, obviously more than probably Saliba, for example, but I just don't feel like there's going to be much happening there. And then obviously Charlie Taylor to wrap things off. Brighton away, he'll remain firmly third on my bench. Is there anyone that you'd sort of switch around on that bench, Ben?
The only consideration I'd have is genuinely Archer or Gibbs White. Like, as much as sort of Archer has been sort of benched a couple of times, Brentford at home is a really nice fixture, especially with the injuries that they've got at the moment. So genuine consideration for that, as I'm sure that's probably the main reason why he's first on the bench, because it is a tough decision, that one, because Forest haven't been very good away from home, and Brentford at times haven't been very good away from home either. So it's interesting to see sort of your thought process behind that. Okay, so moving on into my team, and I've got 2 free transfers, quite a little bit of money in the bank as well. I haven't yet made them, so I am planning on making both the free transfers before the deadline. We start off in goal. Areola is currently in goal. I've got him and Dubravka. I'd rather start with Areola, I think, against Fulham away, but you know, I'm anticipating that it'll be Dubravka that plays this week, just because of the short turnaround between game weeks. We know it's not serious for Areola, but you know, he might not be risk for the next game. You never know. So I'm happy with him there for now. If needed, Dubravka can come off, but both fixtures are pretty tough for my keepers this week, so we'll just have to roll with that. Tsimikas, starting off the defence, he got a rest midweek, didn't even come off the bench, which I was very glad with because I had Branthwaite come off my bench for 6 points. So I anticipate him to start this week. I don't think, you know, based on Klopp's comments sort of during the week and the last sort of couple of weeks, Tsimikas seems like a pretty important cog in that Liverpool team. And he was obviously rested against the, in theory, easiest game that Liverpool have coming up. Gay is probably going to be one that I move on. It will either be him or Nuri that I get rid of, and then Gabriel to round off the defense there. So, Josh, I'm keen to get your initial thoughts on that and the potential transfer of moving a Gay on.
Yeah, definitely probably the right pick in terms of keeper. I think, you'd rather play against a Fulham side than you would a Spurs side. Even with that, if they were missing Son, I think they're still going to score goals just from the way that they sort of play and set up. So yeah, I'd definitely do that. And then Simicast, I think a lot of managers were sort of like willing to sell him after his benching in midweek, but I think it's definitely a keep. I'd be shocked if he doesn't start at the weekend. So yeah, he's a really, really nice asset to own for that game. And then, yeah, Gahey is definitely someone that I'd look to get rid of. If you have Crystal Palace defenders still, it's definitely a nice time to get rid of them when I think they face Liverpool and City in their next two. So you definitely won't play them in the next two. And I think the run after that is not much better as well.
Okay, so moving on into the midfield, and for now, I'm keeping Heung-min Son. Obviously, there's a bit of a knock there, but I'm hoping that it should be absolutely fine going forwards. And Mbuemo is going to be one that I move on. Obviously, injured and out, probably not going to be back till, potentially after he goes to the Africa Cup of Nations. So I'm looking to probably move him on to Anthony Gordon. I think that's probably going to be the most likely transfer for me there for him. Other considerations, there's not too many options really at that price point. Like, it's such a big loss for FPL managers to lose him. So yeah, it's probably going to be Gordon. There wasn't really too many other considerations for other players. Maybe Kudus as well. Bukayo Saka in there as well. Pretty happy with him at the moment. He's ticking along quite nice, getting returns sort of every week. Cole Palmer is similar. Like, I'm pretty happy with him despite overperforming. I'm pretty happy with him as well. And then Salah obviously got sort of put on the bench after 60 minutes yesterday. So, yeah, I anticipate another start for him. Some points potentially on the table, but again, against the low block, it could be quite difficult for Liverpool. Josh, what are your thoughts? Would you consider anyone else other than Anthony Gordon for Mbuemo there?
I don't think so, just because the fixtures come game week 18. Newcastle are playing Luton in that blank game week. So yeah, it's one of the attacks that you're definitely going to need to consider for that week. So bringing them in a couple of weeks early is absolutely fine. Like you said, you could go for like Kudus, or I think some people are seeing going for like Kulusevski or another Spurs attacker. But for me, I think Anthony Gordon, even though he blanked last week, he scored 23 points before that in the 2 game weeks before. So he is on form, and I think he's a really good asset, and he's very underpriced at 6 million.
Okay, and finally going on to my strike force and my bench, we've got Watkins, Arsenal at home. I was a little bit disappointed that Watkins actually didn't pick up anything against Manchester City last week. Then he picked up the yellow, but I anticipate, again, Arsenal at home. I expect Villa to really play well against them, and hopefully Watkins can get a return or two there. And then, yeah, like I said about Haaland, I touched on it with Josh's team on why I think he's able to get those points. And then on the bench is Dubravka. Obviously, I made that point earlier about why I've gone Areola over Dubravka. Branthwaite first on the bench, and Chelsea at home. I think anyone playing Everton right now at home, there's always potential for Everton to keep a clean sheet. And when they do, it tends to be defenders that are picking up the bonus points. So I'm actually really happy with owning him at the moment, even if he's going to be sort of someone that comes off the bench and saves me every once in a while. Nuri, it looks like this game week's coming just too soon for him, which is frustrating because this is sort of the last really decent fixture for Wolves before it gets a little bit tougher. I'm probably going to keep him over Gay just because the attacking threat is much more there with Nuri. And I think Wolves generally are a little bit of a better team than Crystal Palace, at least at the moment, with the fixtures and sort of taking that into account. So I think I'd rather keep the injured player for one more week, especially as he's a little bit lower owned as well, might not be so susceptible to price drops, and then Mbuemo on the bench. So yeah, the transfers are obviously Mbuemo to probably Anthony Gordon, and then Gay to, I'm thinking, Levi Colwill of Chelsea. I had considerations for Pedro Porro, but I think I can probably afford to bring him in next week instead and just sort of not have too many players in that Newcastle and Spurs game. Josh, what are your sort of thoughts on the team in general, and then those transfer plans?
Yeah, obviously Watkins and Haaland, really good partnership. Watkins got probably the best fixture in game week 18. Sheffield United at home for Villa then, so he's a must-have by the time you come to game week 18. Bench looks good. Obviously, Aït-Nouri, it's disappointing that he's been injured for all 3 of these games. I know at the start of the week we thought he might have come back for sort of this one, but just didn't manage to make it. So a bit disappointing, but like you say, he's not going to really drop in price because no one really owns him. So he's definitely worth holding. And I think Cole will win is a decent transfer. I made it myself, so it's got to be all right. Okay, so that wraps up our Game Week 16 team selection videos. Let us know who you're bringing in. Obviously, the deadline is this morning at 11 a.m. We're recording this the night before. It's a little bit weird saying that, but let us know what your dilemmas are, and we'll try and get back to you before that deadline.
Yeah, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the FPL Graduates YouTube channel. And yeah, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.